Hello, everybody, and welcome to in Conversation with. Now, every week, I'm going to have conversations with those who are knowledgeable in the Ga-Dangme culture so that we can learn about our heritage. Now, this program is specifically for those who are born and raised in the diaspora. So when we have these conversations, we're going to start from scratch so that we can delve deep into the tradition, the language, and the culture. And we will always give you opportunities to ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask. Now, on today's show, we have Moses Ajete-Eje, aka Ni Ajete-Eje of Obonu TV, coming to speak to us about what is Ga music. He is a music and sound archivist and holds a master's in music. And some of you may recognize him as a presenter on a number of Ga programs on Obonu TV, as well as GTV, or as your Ga teacher from some time ago. Ni Ajete-Eje is very passionate about Ga music, especially folk music. So you are in the right hands to gain some knowledge. So I have got my notepad and my pen ready in preparation for today's program. Welcome to the show, Ni Ajete. How are you?
Thank you, and I'm fine. And how are you also doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for today's program because Ga music is something that's always slightly evaded me. So I'm looking forward to our discussion today. In terms of starting the interview, I'm going to start with the very basics. Now, everyone assumes that music is music. So my question to you, or my starting question to you, is what exactly is Ga music?
To all those who have joined us at this moment, I just want to welcome you to the show, and I have this opportunity to talk to you, and I am humbled because there are a lot of people who wish they could hear from me, they could really touch on what I've already acquired, and this is the opportunity for you to hear me. Maybe if it's your first time, you're going to hear the way maybe I perceive things, and the way I look at certain culture and traditions of the Ga people. And me as a Ga myself, who I've also taught for a period of time, my passion has really led me into research into most of the things that we do as Gans and why we do them, what benefits we get from them, and how they relate to our traditions. And therefore, let me start without wasting much time to say that Ga music, first we have to ask ourselves who are Gans, because it is Ga and music. So Ga are a group of people who can be found around the southern part of Ghana, near the coast. And it's a small, tribe compared to other tribes in Ghana, but then very powerful. And most people, when we say Ga, they perceive it to be homogeneous group or family, but it is somehow true. But then it is not also true to an extent. The reason being that Gans have 4 sections or divisions, and these divisions depends on how they arrived at their new settlement where they live now. So we can see 4 groups of people who are living close to each other or close to each community, and they are on their own. They are not ruled by any of them, or let's say one person having the entire control of the entire place. No, they see themselves as 4 people, and therefore we have the Wusagba, who are the Gamashi people, and there are communities around them. If you come to La, we have Wuduku, and the communities in their villages that form Wuduku. And from there, you go to Wukluwo, the Nungwa and its surroundings. And then we have Wukli, which is the Tama and its surroundings. These are the 4 groups. And therefore, when you look at their traditions and culture, they look alike, but there are differences because of this division that exists among them. Now, let's talk about music. Music, we all know it is sounds and rhythms and the way they are ordered to make appealing to the ear or pleasing to the ear. If sounds are put together and they are too loud, or maybe they are not appealing to the ear, the opposite of music then becomes noise. And therefore, looking at music in its simplicity, we can really begin to look at what the Gans do and what they call their music. For the Gan, music is a philosophy. It's very, very philosophical. Yeah. And why am I saying so? A Gan who has a music, or who performs a music, does so with certain mindset. The first one is that he thinks that the music is generated from within, and he sees the music as a form of communication. The communication starts with he to himself, or if it is she to herself. And from there, it's a communication between him or her to a person close to him, or a person that he can see, or somebody who is close by him or her. And from there also, he sees the same music that is a music to people who are close to him or her. And it extends to his community or a community, and continues to maybe outside his community, and maybe to the spiritual world. So to the Ga, music is communication or a dialogue between one and himself and nature or things that are around him or her. Now, the music, as I've said already, are sound nuances that are picked from various sources. It could be the voice itself. It could be instruments that the person feels or finds around in his neighborhood. Instruments, or maybe even tools that can just generate some resonations, are all picked and made or make sounds from them. And once these things are organized in a certain way, they generate music.
So based on what you said, which it's a form of communication between the individual within themselves and then externally to the community, and even wider than that, are there specific types of Ga music that represents these forms of communication?
Yes. If you look at the music as it is, you can see that one, the person really, the one making the music is from within, and therefore the music that is generated can be classified into about 4 divisions. Now, first, they have music that they enjoy, or that makes them happy, that they use in making fun, which we can term as recreational music. So to the Ga, they have certain music that are meant for recreation. They also have music that comes, it just comes, and therefore they call this type of music incidental music. This music, sometimes you can see when they are working, or maybe the person is, grinding, maybe grinding corn, or pounding fufu or something. Anything that is happening, the Ga person tries to generate music around it. And therefore, the music can be incidental when working. So when you go to the beach, the Gans are mostly fishermen, and some, what do you call them? Some farmers as well, because they live on the grassland. They farm things like okra, pepper, some vegetables, and stuff like that. And they also, but their major economic work is fishing. So when they go to beach or they go to sea and they come, they are hauling their nets. They sing along. But this music, I want to just give a background to it. Now, it starts from the individual. Let's say an individual begin to perceive some tunes in his mind or a mind, begin to sing within without any sounds outside. So if you are by him or her, you wouldn't hear anything. But sometimes you see him tapping his foot or something, and you realize that as if something is happening. And within a short period, you hear some something coming out of him, maybe singing some songs. And all these songs that are singing, or the person might be singing, may have a relation to what is happening to him, or what is suffering from others around him, or what is seen from his nature or his surroundings. So all these things can influence him and begins to sing. So, or make some music. I wouldn't call that one music. I wouldn't call it singing for now, because the Gans don't have a term like music that stands as in the view of the other world. To them,
is lala not music?
lala is song.
Okay.
And drumming and beating on other things, they call it miji. You understand it? So to them, when you are beating or using other things to create music, they call that one miji or joji. And the jo means dancing, actually. Mi is the drum. So once you are beating it, so whatever they beat, they call it either miji or joji. It means any other object that you strike to produce music, they call it joyi or miji. But if you are singing, then they call it lala or lamu. It means you are singing. You understand it? So then they don't have one particular word that stands for music, but the music is expressed in other ways, and that is how they classify what music is. Now, I've said that they have music for recreation. They also have music for worship. They have the incidental music, and also have music for political activity. So when the chieftaincy and the family elders, the kinsmen are moving, there are music that are used. They also have music that are used to communicate to the people or the community. All these things are generated from individuals with their thoughts, and this one as are built on by the community or the society in which they live. Now, for the Gans, music itself, as I've said earlier, is a communication between the person generating the music and the people around, and even can go beyond to the object of worship or the spirits that guides the environment or the community. So to them, they communicate each time. So this is seen when somebody is so worried that maybe there is a nearby person who is worrying that person. The one who generates the song, sometimes you will not sing anything, but you can use the music to really cast insinuation onto the person close by. And this music, same music that has been used to insult somebody, can be used communally. And when people begin to sing this song, sometimes it becomes a recreational song. And so to the Gans, they have music called adawi, especially, which are performed by female. Maybe a woman in his house or in her house will have an issue with the husband, or maybe a lover. And maybe because the lover is tormenting her or something, she may develop, certain feelings. And out of these feelings may develop a song. When the song comes out, she might be singing the song. If the person is in the same room with her, she can just sing kwa many sunny meaning kwa. Why? Do you want to kill me? This song, if she begins to sing this song, she can take this song outside when they are performing in the community, maybe under the moon. And they are having fun. She can sing the same song. And once this song is sung, the community, the group in which she's singing, will find an alternative way to respond to the song. So, and because it is a communication, mostly when a guy sing a melody or provide a song, it is believed that it's a communication. So the people around find a way to respond, and they may respond in the same melody, or maybe at a different pitch, or at a different level, or maybe a counter in an inverse of the same melody. And so if maybe the one I've just used as an example, many Sunday, if the colleagues are there, they will also respond the same day. Somebody say, many you know, it's a communication. So here, the gunman is making music, but at the same time, there is a philosophy behind the music he or she is making. It's not just, sitting down, composing, putting what you can. No, 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 no. Within the feelings, she is coming out with something. But those who are singing the song might not understand it at the moment, because to them, it's a music that has been brought and they will all sing or respond to the music as such. This is how, or one way, the guns perceive music.
So is
Now,
that
even if he has,
so is it
if he has
similar
to do,
to Bashimo?
come again.
Is that
I'll come
similar to
to.
Bashimo?
I want to. Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. Let's say if it is religious music, the same feeling that they have, it is between them and the object of worship or the spirits around. So, in that case, the music that they generate has to bear it has to fall within the bearing of communication between the object of worship and he or she, the one who is worshiping that object. And therefore, the sound tone is also taken into consideration. To the guns, when they are speaking to the spirits, it has to be nasal, because to them, they think that the spirits speak nasal, or their tones are nasalized. So they want to make sure that you can hear that nasalized sound in the song. So you hear them singing. So when it comes to, like you mentioned, the pasong that is sung, the guns make sure that when you are singing, the notes that are applied or that represent the song signifies what the spirits will hear and understand. And for the spirits, they speak in nasal tones, and therefore the music is characterized this way. And therefore, the music that is performed during worship and other activities that relate to spiritual events can be seen clearly. And this is so because of the perception they have and the beliefs and practices of the people. And this same belief is also shared among the community. So to the guns, even though the music originates from one person or maybe a group of people, this music can be spread within the community and it becomes the community-owned music.
Okay.
Now, it is the same music that will begin to grow, and even though initially it has to do with worship or maybe somebody's feelings, this music can be transferred into their recreation and be used for recreational music, except that maybe if it is for worship, these music are not really taken for granted. Therefore, you will not hear such music during recreation so much. But music like or play or any other music that are used for worship sometimes are also used for recreation. Now, aside these two music that I've mentioned, they also have music for economic activity. They have they have other music that are meant for the various generations in life. So for children, for adolescents, they also have for marriages, and they also have for adults, and even continues to death. So they also have dirges that they play. And all this music, even though I've spoken about the songs, can also be implicated on their instruments. Because instruments also play roles in music activity. And therefore, most of the times, the music is contextual, thinking about the context in which the music is played. And therefore, they begin to look at where it's supposed to be played appropriately. So if it happens to be a political music, now they think about their kinship or their kinsmen and royals. Therefore, they don't transfer such music into certain activities, like maybe during funerals or not. But the same music sometimes can also be applied at funerals and even at adorings. only they are mindful of the texts that are used in the music to make sure that they don't really confuse the people.
So can
Now,
you give some examples?
Come again?
You mentioned that there's songs sung during childhood, songs sung as teenagers, songs that married. Can you give some examples of maybe even just the names of the songs?
For instance, we have songs like Adodon Bine Gonesha, Adodon Bine Gonesha, Kweboni Petengunguse, and you know the children do develop a certain instrument that they use tin, maybe empty tin, and you know just put in sticks and with a string, they form their own loop, and they try to strike with maybe a broomstick. And while they do that, they use their other hand to create a sound variation or sound variations or pitches within the distance and play it, and you get and to them what they are singing is Adodon Bine Gonesha, Adodon Bine Gonesha, Kweboni Petengunguse, Kweboni Petengunguse. Now, whilst they are singing this song, they are also referring to somebody who has lost his teeth. Even though the song is talking about a fly who has died and has got stuck to the back of the hand, they are also referring to somebody who has lost his teeth. So some of these songs and the continuation of the song refers to somebody who has really lost his first tooth. So when children lose their first teeth, they do this. And there are songs that are also sung for adolescents. And when the child is about to be ushered into adolescence, aside maybe the adolescent ushering first rights that are like the depot, ashi and others, there are songs that the youth themselves learn to sing, and some of them depict games that they play among their peers. Others depict songs that they learn during work or even during wars. You know that when they reach the adolescent age, they are taught how to fight to protect themselves and protect their community. During this period, they also taught certain music to perform. And therefore, all these play part in the development of music within the Ga community. So the Gas perceive music differently, if not from other cultures, because to them, the music that is performed is not just performed in vacuum. Every music is related to certain activity, either religious for worship, or maybe when the kinsmen or the chief are moving, or maybe when they are at a deba or something. They want to show these differences. Also, if the chief want to speak to the people, he has to use maybe bells. And the bells are not just played. It is not played by just anybody. It is played by the linguist. And it is the linguist who goes around to beat the gong for the people to come. And the gong is sounded in a certain way to inform the people that the chief wants to speak to them, and he speaks the chief's language. And therefore, as I've said already, to the Ga, any music activity that is performed has that rapport between a person and another person. It's one to many, or one to one, or one to itself. And I want to be emphasizing on this one very well, because it's very, very important to me. That is always philosophical, and therefore anyone who has that intention of making any music have that one in mind. Now, we ask ourselves, how do they really get this music? This music that they generate can be based on things they've already heard. So it's a memory of their traditions or culture, assets that they picked from society. Secondly, there will be also music that are coming from other cultures that they might have heard. Maybe through economical relationship, when people go on trade, or maybe people who they might have encountered during certain activities, maybe marriage or, people who might have, come during wars and things. They learn a few things from them, and therefore they also adapt. And these things settle on their mind. So whilst they are trying to create this individual music, these things influence whatever type of music they perform. Now, we have spoken much about individualism. Now, let me begin to talk about what two, three, or a communal people do. Now, as we speak, you can see that aside individuals who make music, two or three or four people can make a group and begin to sing. Now, if it is peers, they make sure that the music that they sing is within their age groups. And therefore, they also create their own music. Now, there's one characteristic of Ga music. Most of the times, it is call and respond. The reason is that it is somebody who has something that he wants to communicate. And therefore, as I've said already, when I was talking about Dawi, it is common with most of the other peers. Even if it is adults, you begin to see people calling the music and the others responding. It's one of the characteristics. And therefore, when you look at even music that is striped, like drumming or beating the bell, these things are also there. Now, when you observe the Ga music that are being played, you realize that they also have another characteristics of the music is played in layers. If it is one melody, there is another melody that is placed on the first one. There's another melody, and I just want to come from where I use the Adawi. A female or maybe somebody just sing one layer, and the other or maybe the group respond in that layer. That they respond the same melody that has been sung in different layers. Now, for the female among them, will try to sing with female voices, and each of them will begin to look at the voice range to sing accordingly, so that he or she will fit into the music. The others will also do sing, and by so doing, they create their own harmony.
Okay.
But in so doing, the harmony fall in natural law. What do I mean by natural law? Within the communities, they have their own way of singing, which everybody accepts. And therefore, if one person is not able to sing within this range, they call the person, the Gans call the person Ashitulo. Ashitulo means somebody, Ashitulo, yes. It means somebody whose ears cannot really capture the song, or who is lacking the sense of rhythmic or melodic, issues.
So is it an insult?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So there are people who might be singing the same melody which has been sung, and you see the way they sing it cannot fit into anything. And or maybe a particular rhythm has been set with the melody that has been introduced, with the expectation that everybody will fall in place with the same melody, with the same rhythm. So if it is akuko 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 akuko, and the person who is not able to sing well will be akuko akuko, or it will be going off the strong beat, and the Gans will call that a person ashitulo. It means that he's not able to really fall in place of the music. Okay. Now, I've said that the music that we see or we hear from the Ga community, some originated from the Ga community itself. Others were borrowed from nearby communities, and others were imported. Now, let me use one of the or one or two of the recreational music that we all know today. We know Palogo.
Yeah.
Palogo. Now, if you know the or maybe we go back a little. This is a music that started initially without drums, but with the coming of drums, which is Panlogo. If you look at the southern part of Ghana, if you go to the areas, if you go to the Fantis, all those towns around along the coast, you realize that they all have similar drums that look like the Panlogo drum. And they all have a music of a type that looks like the Panlogo, but they all call it different names. If you go to areas, they might call Panlogo the similar drum that is beating that we perform among the guns, which is called the Panlogo. They call it bobobo drums. And therefore, and when you look at the bobobo and they are singing it, you can see that all the elements and everything that makes the music is just like the Panlogo, except that the way they dance it is a bit different from the Panlogo. And if you know the guns themselves, as I've said earlier, they live around a place where the place is a grassland, and therefore they don't have a lot of trees to be making drums. Telling you that most of the drums that they beat are either imported. Where they cannot import it, they use the materials they see around their area to create one. It is believed that there is a particular music called Gome. Gome music has also been imported into the Ga community, and this has also been adapted. It has been adapted to be part of the Ga music. All this music or the instruments that were built, you come to realize that when you go to other countries, like the Caribbean, you find the same music, the same instruments there. And the styles of play are similar to what the Gans play. If you go to Sierra Leone, you realize that the same Gome that is played in Accra or among the Gans is also played there. If you go to Liberia, among the Kuns, they also have similar drum, the Gome, but they have a different name that they call it. And therefore, you can see that these elements have been borrowed from, people they've have interaction with one way or the other. And therefore, this has become part and parcel of their music. Now, let me talk about the change.
Just before you go on to the next question, it kind of makes me think of two things. One, what makes our music unique? I remember previously we had a discussion that a lot of music is 5 tones, but the Gas operate by 4 tones. Can you go into a bit more detail about that and what makes our music unique? And then you also mentioned some external influences. So how exactly did Gome come about?
Okay, now it is, let me just first start with the tones. Now, as I said earlier, there are music that are nasal. And because of that, the Gans have that perception that when you see nasal music, it is related to the spirits. The Gans also have certain skill that they normally create their music alone. Now, this skill falls within about 4 notes or 5 notes. Sometimes, mostly, it is 4 notes. And either it is do, fa, la, then it repeats itself again. Do, fa, then there's so in it. Do, fa, so, la. And therefore, when you listen to pan or play, you realize that the tonic or which the home note is normally on la. And when you take it into the Western music, it sounds more of a minor or a minor scale. But to the Gans, there are only about 4 notes within this scale. So they will either be singing do, and you will not be hearing most of the mi and the re in it. Once a while, they introduce them, but it is not common in their music. So when you take a song like this, you hear about only 3 notes. La la la, do 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 la 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 do. So here you can be hearing only 2 notes. Do 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 la 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 do la do 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 la 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 do su la su do 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 la 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 do su la su, and the song will be revolving around this ostinato rhythm. So it will be rotating, going up, down, and it is the same thing. And therefore, when the musician is creating the music, knowing this skill very well, it starts by maybe introducing and it is more of a speech like rhythm. And as this music is narrated, the melody and harmony that is sung behind it is made of this particular skill. If you go to the Numwa people, this is where I have to differentiate, or maybe I have to really talk about the difference or the factions among the Gans. When you go, these songs is not common among all the Gan people. It is only common with the La people. The Pan song, the Pan music is common with the La. And a little of it is sung around Numwa and Tema. It is not so common with Gamashi, who are the Busagba. They, because of the ye that has been introduced into their Omo, they don't sing this. And if you know the god of the La people, it's called La Pan. And so the Pan itself, which is supposed to be a song, is also a drum. It's also a prayer. So they pray the Pan. They also sing
the drum is a prayer, or the music is a prayer?
The Pan is a prayer. It's also a music. It's also a drum, and it is a dance. So it means anything that has a connection with this particular deity, everything that has to do with that musical type, is dances, is singing, is narration, are all part of the prayer. And it is believed that it is God himself who gave them this song or this music. And therefore, anytime they are, playing or creating this particular style of music, they are referring to God. And they use this music really to talk to their people. Sometimes they use it even against people who are not really behaving in society well. And so there are three main types of pan. They have one they call Blema pan, which tells about the history of the people. They have one they call Passon pan. That is the one that they themselves create. And they have another one called Amrakuakman. That is pan that is brought by the spirits to really inform them about whether there are issues within the community. But I wouldn't go deep into it. I'll find another time. I'm just trying to give the overview of how the Gans really see music and how they look at it. I want to be specific here that if you look at the music, now we can talk about the history of it, or the past and the present. Now, the Gan music is not static. It keeps changing. It evolves.
Yeah.
And as I've said already, there are music that started with them, but there are music that they've also borrowed. And each time there is a lot of fusion of these musics that are coming from wherever they are coming from, the various sources. And the sound nuances that we also hear, they also borrow from wherever they get them. But not only borrowing, they also imitate whatever they found within their community to generate some songs. For example, when they hear the sound of birds, for example, kwa kwa labite, the crow, kwa kwa labite is crow. And therefore, they imitate kwa kwa labite, nubo song. Sometimes there's another one that says or so you see, they are looking at the behavior of the birds or animals around them. Sometimes they sing.
So if I understand correctly, so they use the music to mimic the object that they're singing about.
That is it.
Okay.
That is it. So they mimic the behavior, the voices, or maybe the noise or the tone of the animals, and they imitate it. There are even music that are created around objects that are modern. For instance, the train, there are music for it. If those who might have watched a program that my signature tune, there is a song that is sung about the train, and this one was created as a folk song.
Okay.
Mobayo. Mubaya, 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 Mubayu. And this is the sound of the train, of the horn of the train. And the movement, kikili, kikili, it depicts how the song, the train, when it's moving on the rail, on the metal rail. Kikili, kikili, buja, juja, ja, ja, ja. Kikili, and it has the you see. So the guns really look at things around them and generate music from them. And
just to say,
in all aspects of life, the guns really perceive these things not as ordinary music that is just being sung, or maybe sitting down to think about it and be composing it like other people in other parts of the world do. They perceive the music differently as part of them themselves who are making the music. And therefore, when they create music and others are using it, the people who are also using the music also represent themselves or place themselves in the shoes of the one who created the songs and think with the same feeling. I think I will really pause here for further questions, except if you want to ask further questions, I'll go on.
Yes, I have one more question because I'm also conscious of the time. So we've talked about a lot about the different types of music and where they might be used. What are examples of typical Ga instruments? And then once you've answered that question, then we'll go on to the final statement before we close off the show.
If you really want to talk about typical Ga instruments, I would say that because the people live by the beach, shells that are used as horns are mostly typical Ga instruments. And are they now instruments like into the community, which now has become their own musical instrument. There
looks like we might be having a few issues with the internet. I find it
other ones like the music, which this is a small drum, a talking drum that is played. They also have instruments like pati. It is a small drum that is in or has been replicated from the gourmet drum, but this one is a handheld drum, and it sounds. You know, the gourmet drum is big and it is sat on to during performance, and the performer uses both hands and feet to play. But the party, this one is called tamalin. Tamalin. The tamalin is if you listen to it, the name originates from tambourine.
Okay.
And it is played just like the tambourine. Yeah. And the guys call it tamarin. And they play this one alongside other instruments like mungu, which is a bell, or the banana bell, which they call sanklu mungu. Then they also have udurumpu, which is a castanet. And you see, all these things, because of where they live and the activities that they do, they generate some of these instruments. They also have the broken piece of a canoe, which is only performed or which is used during the homo. There are certain music when, because of certain beliefs and practices, there are times that certain musics are not performed. And as I've said already, the music is philosophical. And so when it comes to religious aspect of the music, there are times that certain music are banned and certain music are allowed to be performed. And during homo war period, when the ban is placed on noise making, a particular instrument is allowed to be played, and that is the broken piece of the canoe. And this one is used to perform a certain kwan, which is called the ngumlukwan. So every night, and when you listen to the sound of it, it's also sound very nasal. And the songs that are sung during that period also very nasal.
So only spiritual music is allowed to be played during the ban on noise making and drumming.
Yeah, exactly. And when we see we have music for recreation, as I've said. We have music for other activities like religious music, and we also have for political activities. Each time, the music that are the instruments that are employed depicts what is, the Gans have certain instruments like obunu.
Mhm.
The obunu has been adapted from, I believe, the Akan communities, because when you look at the shape and the size of the obunu, it tells obunu are the bigger drums and the big talking drums. And when they are being, if you look at their shape, you realize that they are not from the Ga communities. Either they are imported because of the sizes of the woods, but it has become one of the Ga musical instruments because of the role it plays in the society, in the political activity.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore there are many. Well, these are just to mention a few.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to close for the day. But before we close, do you have a message to say to the Ga community in the Ga language? And then we will close off. So if you have a short message to say to the Ga community.
Okay. Gameni yo neke show name. Wombomoden akeshi. What you say woy? Ye wodienche wakusumi so to ye ana. Wong wo fe name. Woni afe ni meninde nibi kumi. Alo amele nibi kumi. Ni sani amele. Eku amena dane. Shaminu shishin amena shishinu mudubang. Yeshua no. All I'm saying is to the Ga community or those who are listening to us, we are trying to bring education to everyone who maybe might belong to the Ga society or the Ga tribe, but don't understand some of the things or the activities that are going around them. We are bringing some of this education so that at least when you see your fellow one performing a certain music or maybe doing something else or part of your culture, you should understand what the person is doing. And in short, this is what I will say, that we should keep watching this program to make it, to learn from it, because a whole lot of topics will be discussed that will enable us really get insight into whatever activity and beliefs that we have and the practices as such. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niajete. So I'm hoping that everybody who's listened and watched this video has learned so much about Ga music. Ga music in itself and the differences and all the variety within that music can take a number of sessions. So just to let you know, this is not going to be the only session on Ga music. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing more sessions on Ga music. We're also going to be looking at Ga marriages, Ga funerals, Ga puberty rites, and all aspects of Ga culture. And we're also going to be looking at Dangme culture and heritage too. So our next session is actually going to be on Dangme marriage. So if you are interested in learning about the culture and the heritage and have questions to ask, please subscribe to this channel and also follow us on the Ga-Dangme on Instagram and Facebook. Niajete also has a folk group called the Odehe Minstrel Group, who are on Facebook. So if you are interested in Ga folk music and want to see some beautiful examples of Ga recreational music, Ga all sorts of Ga music, do go onto Facebook and type in Odehe Minstrel Group. So thank you very much. And I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye.